Hey y'all, welcome to the heat of the summer and grilling season. Last year I spent 7 months on the road hitting 28 states, which was a great way to social distance during COVID. So this summer I'm keeping the RV at my home base campground. That doesn't mean, however, that I won't do some traveling by air this time. I headed out to the Pacific Northwest to Bainbridge Island, Washington for my annual pilgrimage to see family and friends. My flight into Seattle was a beautiful, clear day, and Mount Rainier was out in all its glory. Flight path also went over Seattle, and I was treated to a great aerial view of the city. A short ferry ride from Seattle across the Sound, and I was back on familiar ground in Bainbridge Island. Last year, while I was camped in the Seattle area, I met a couple of great friends, Rich and Kim, in the RV park that I was staying at. They have a beautiful coach, and we're in the process of buying a house on Bainbridge. These guys love my chimichurri sauce. I gave them quite a bit, and Kim hid it from Rich so he could keep it for himself. I wanted to cook up something for them while I'm out in the area, so I thought my chimichurri sauce would be the perfect thing. They graciously offered me their kitchen for the endeavor. A grill was handy too to throw some meat on. Chimichurri sauce is a traditional steak sauce of Argentina. It's a fresh blend of herbs, oil, and vinegar that's a wonderful complement to grilled meat. My chimichurri is a fresh, tart-tasting sauce that pulls out the great flavors of a grilled steak, chicken, or fish. You'll find all sorts of ways to use this versatile sauce, and chimichurri is easy to make, ages well, and keeps in the refrigerator for a good while. Now, the origins of chimichurri is not exactly known, but the common theory is that the Gauchos out on the Pampas of Argentina developed it to serve over their grilled meats while tending their cattle. The more fun version is that the name comes from a sauce that an Irish or British man made in the 19th century, chimichurri. Whatever its origin, it's a great complement to grilled meat. I know you'll enjoy Kenny's chimichurri. It's easy to make, lasts a long time in the fridge, and goes wonderfully on all your grilled meats and even more. So thanks, Rich and Kim, for the use of your beautiful kitchen. Let's whip up some chimichurri for our flank steak dinner. Prep time for this dish is about 15 minutes. Cooking time, 0, no cooking involved. This recipe will serve 8 to 10 people. You can store it in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. Ingredients, you're going to want 1 small sweet onion, 2 bunches of parsley, 1 small package of tarragon, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of red pepper flakes, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, a half cup of red wine vinegar, 1 cup of olive oil, and 1 large lemon squeezed. First off, you're going to cut up the onion. Let me get this cut. So I'm just going to cube it into 5 or 6 large cubes. Let me open up the lid of the processor, and I'm going to put that in the food processor. And let me hit this and get it pulsed here. Okay. And the reason I do the onion first is that the other ingredients don't take as much pulsing, so I want to grind the onion first. Now the next step, I'm going to hand chop the parsley off the stem and get that. And let me do the other one. So yeah, you don't want the stems in the dish, so let's do that. Now I'm going to take the parsley. Let me open this food processor back up. And I'm going to add the parsley. Okay, now next is the tarragon. Now tarragon adds a lot of intense flavor to the dish. Let me stick that in my food processor. And now I'm going to chop the garlic up, or kind of mince it. I know I usually use a pre-minced garlic in my recipes, but since this dish is extremely fresh, I'm going to chop my own. All right, let me add that into the food processor. Next, let's measure out the red pepper flakes and put those in. Okay, now the pepper. Add that. I'm adding this right into the food processor. And the salt. Okay. So all the dry ingredients are now in the food processor. So now let's go ahead and add the wet one. First, we're going to add the red wine vinegar. For that, my measuring cup. Okay. And let me get the olive oil. And we'll add that. Okay, the last step is squeeze the lemon. So let me cut that in half. Okay, get my squeezer and grind this real good. One half. Let's get the other half. Okay, it's a nice juicy lemon. That's good. And then let me put that in. Pour it in. All right, all the ingredients are in. Let's put the lid back on and let's run this. I like to use a pulsing motion in this, mixing it all up really well. Yeah, I'm doing this to a fairly fine consistency, so it'll be good. And let me pour this out into a bowl. That's all there is to it. So let me give a try of this. Let me grab a spoon. It has a nice tang to it from the vinegar and the tartness of that curly parsley. It tastes so fresh. Rich, Kim, come over here and give this a test. What do y'all think? So, hey, enjoy y'all's steak when you make this. Some serving recommendations on this is I like to use my chimichurri as a marinade for my steak. Spread it generously and let it sit for at least an hour. And you can, if you want, marinate this overnight in the refrigerator. Then serve it up on top of a grilled steak in the traditional Argentinian way. If you're grilling chicken, this is great on grilled chicken as well. And it's really good on fresh tomato slices. Another great option is top a baked potato with it. It gives a nice tarty freshness to the baked potato. It's also good on top of seared tuna, and you can try it on top of fried eggs for breakfast, or you can even serve it as a salsa on its own. Be adventurous and try it on different things. I know you're going to enjoy it. So the tips for this. First, I use curly parsley in my chimichurri. Curly parsley is more readily available than flat parsley, which is the traditional ingredient in Argentinian chimichurri. And I find that the curly parsley gives a chimichurri a fresh, tart flavor. Now, you can use the chimichurri fresh out of the food processor, but after refrigeration, the flavor will actually enhance in it. So keep that in mind. Chimichurri is a great way to enhance your summer grilling, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Now it's mail time. I love this portion of the show. Today I'm answering your questions and comments regarding my Dirty Rice episode. There are some great questions and comments, so here we go. Now, Sakura from Japan and Harold from Great Britain asks, why do they call it dirty rice? Sakura and Harold, thanks for your question from the other side of the Pacific and Atlantic. This is a good question, and the name is not so attractive. The name comes from the appearance of the rice. The meat, spices, and veggies give the rice a dirty appearance, so that's where the name comes from. So thanks, Sakura and Harold, and keep watching. Latina from Spain wanted to know, Kenny, do you know if there's another name for dirty rice? Latina, I love Spain. Yes, there's a few different names for dirty rice. It's also known as Cajun rice and rice dressing. All these names describe the same dish. So Latina, thanks for letting me clarify, and thanks for watching. Jacob from Wisconsin asks, Kenny, do you know when dirty rice was invented and by whom? I believe you said down south, but that really doesn't answer the full question of where and when. Jacob, I love history and your question. The origin of dirty rice goes back to the antebellum era of southern Louisiana in the late 1700s and early 1800s. Rice was plentiful in southern Louisiana, so using rice in a dish was a given. It was a great way to use up leftover meat parts, and the rice made it easy to feed a lot of people. Dirty rice was used to feed the slaves on plantations. It was cheap and plentiful. So thanks for the history question, Jacob. Now, a cooking related question. Nancy from Montreal, Canada asks, do you need to wash rice before cooking? Nancy, you can wash the rice before cooking to remove starches and keep the rice from sticking. I found that the fat from the meat accomplishes the same thing, so I don't rinse my rice before cooking. Thanks for the question, Nancy. The next couple questions come from Nall in New Orleans and Gail from Baton Rouge. Both these are from the heart of dirty rice country. So Nall asks, have you ever tried to make dirty rice with Zatarain's New Orleans style dirty rice mix instead of white rice? The rice comes out dry and fluffy. The taste is spicy like other Zatarain mixes, but again, not painfully hot, just medium hot. Gail stated, Kenny, I'm really surprised you did not shortcut this recipe with the use of Tony Chachere's rice dinner mix. After all, you used their spices. So with that being said, is yours any different from the mix? So thanks, Nall and Gail. I appreciate your questions and suggestions. Last fall, I spent 2 months camped in New Orleans and frequented Rouse's Market. The grocery stores in Louisiana are full of Cajun and Creole items that unfortunately are not found everywhere. After I read y'all's questions, I texted a buddy of mine at the RV park in New Orleans. He ran over to Rouse's for me and took some pictures of the Cajun aisle so that I can pass that on to my viewers. I had a field day shopping when I was in New Orleans, and I loved all the great Cajun products that were readily available. For the rest of us who spend time away from Louisiana, we need to make do. Now, after my dirty rice episode, Tony Chachere's sent me a box of their dirty rice for me to try. Thank you for that, Tony Chachere's. I can't find it in stores around me. I can find Zatarain's dirty rice, and I picked up a box to try. So on another night in Bainbridge, with the help of Rich and Kim, along with their house guest, Jamesette, we conducted a dirty rice tasting. I cooked up a batch of my dirty rice and prepared the Tony Chachere's and Zatarain's box dirty rice according to the instructions on the box. When the dishes were ready, my tasters commenced their tasting. All of the dirty rice recipes are good. Let's start off with Zatarain. They found that it was the mildest of the three and did not have quite the burst of flavor as the rest, but they did like it. They felt that Tony's had great flavors and was spicier than Zatarain. They all preferred my from scratch to the boxes. Rich pointed out that Tony's and mine had the same flavors, but mine was more nuanced and you better tasted the individual flavors. According to him, Tony's had the same flavors, but they weren't individually layered, rather more blended into an overall flavor profile. So Gail and Nall, the boxes are good if available, but my from scratch dirty rice gives an overall better fresh flavor. Thanks for both of y'all for writing in. Thanks to everyone who commented and wrote in. I love hearing from y'all. My next episode is going to be a blast. I'm hopping a plane for Alaska to a buddy of mine's wedding. He asked me to cook one night for family and friends that are coming in town for the wedding. You know me, I love to cook, so I said, no problem. I'll be cooking up an easy oven brisket recipe for shredded beef tacos. This dish is a great way to feed lots of people, and we're planning on 20 for the party. So join me on my upcoming trip to Alaska, and let's feed the masses. I'm glad you cooked with me today. Enjoy your grilling season. I want to thank this episode's tasters, Rich, Kim, and Jamesette. We had a great time. And thanks to all you viewers from around the world. I enjoy sharing my recipes with you. Also, a thanks to Tony Chachere's for sending me their dirty rice box. It was good. You can find their products at their website, tonychachere.com. And finally, Kenny's Kantina would not be out there without the help and support of IBC Productions and the Road Hogs Media Network. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, Check my website for all recipes and episodes. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hey, Alaskan Beckons. See y'all on the road.